Horse had enough and does this. Horse Guards, Royal Guard, King's Guard, Horse, London, 2024. Buses rolled by, footsteps echoed on stone paths, and distant bells marked the hour. The air was cool, and the sky was a soft gray, the kind that made the old buildings look even more serious and grand. By the time the sun lifted higher, tourists had already started to gather near the open space where the King's Guard stood on duty. One of the guards had taken his position early. He stood straight, dressed in his ceremonial uniform, his face steady and focused. Beside him stood his horse, tall and powerful, with a glossy coat that caught the light when the clouds shifted. The horse wore its ceremonial gear, polished and clean, fitted with care before duty began. This was not new for either of them. They had done this many times before. Standing still for hours, surrounded by noise and movement, was part of the role. The horse was trained from a young age to remain calm in busy places. It had learned to ignore sudden sounds, waving hands and flashing cameras. It had learned to trust the guard beside it and to follow his guidance. Still, even with all that training, the horse was a living being. It felt the ground beneath its hooves. It heard every sound. It sensed every movement around it. As the morning passed, the crowd grew larger. Visitors came from all over the world. Some spoke softly, admiring the uniform and the horse. Others whispered excitedly, pointing at the polished gear and the strong legs of the animal. Many raised their phones, trying to capture the perfect photo. Children stood on tiptoe. Parents smiled. Most people respected the space, reading the signs and keeping a safe distance. But not everyone did. A few visitors stepped closer than they should have. They leaned forward, holding phones just a little too near. Some laughed when the horse flicked its ears or shifted slightly. They did not mean harm. Many simply did not understand what it meant for the horse to stand there for so long, surrounded by strangers. To them, it looked calm and still, almost like part of the building behind it. The guard remained silent and still, as trained. His eyes stayed forward, but his awareness was sharp. He could feel the horse beside him, sense its movements through years of working together. When the horse adjusted its weight, the guard noticed. When its breathing changed, the guard felt it. Still, he held his position. His duty was clear. The horse shifted one hoof slightly, then settled again. Its ears turned back for a moment, then forward. These were small signs, easy to miss for those who did not know animals well. The crowd did not notice. The phones kept rising. The flashes continued. Voices grew louder as more people arrived. Time passed slowly. Standing still for hours was demanding, not just for the guard but also for the horse. Muscles tightened. The ground felt harder with each passing minute. The horse stayed calm, doing what it had been trained to do, trusting that the guard and the routine would guide it through the day. A group of tourists moved closer. One stepped directly in front of the horse, smiling broadly for a photo. Another stood near the side, waving to get the animal's attention. The horse lifted its head slightly. Its nostrils flared as it took in new scents. The space around it felt smaller now. The guard noticed the closeness. He gave a firm verbal warning, clear and strong, telling people to step back. Some listened right away, moving away with embarrassed smiles. Others hesitated, unsure if the warning was meant for them. Cameras were still rolling. The moment felt busy and crowded. The horse shifted again, this time more noticeably. One hoof scraped lightly against the ground. Its tail moved sharply. These were not random movements. They were signs of discomfort, of a need for space. The guard remained steady, his posture unchanged, but his focus deepened. He trusted the horse, but he also knew its limits. The noise around them continued. A loud laugh cut through the air. Someone dropped something and it clattered on the stone. The horse's ears snapped toward the sound. Its body tensed just for a moment. Then it steadied itself again, standing tall and still. People kept filming. The horse had done everything it was trained to do. It had stayed calm. It had given quiet signals. It had trusted the humans around it to respect its space, but the pressure did not ease. The crowd remained close. The noise did not fade. The waiting continued. The guard could feel the tension through the reins and the air between them. He knew the importance of control, of calm, of presence. He also knew that the horse was not a machine. It was strong, patient, and disciplined, but it was still alive. It still felt stress. It still needed understanding. As the minutes stretched on, the horse took a deeper breath. Its chest rose and fell. It lifted its head slightly higher, scanning the space in front of it. For a brief moment, everything seemed to pause. The crowd quieted just a little, as if sensing something was changing. The guard remained in place, focused and prepared. He trusted his training. He trusted the bond he had with the horse. Whatever came next, he would handle it calmly and professionally. Around them, London continued as always. Traffic moved. Voices echoed. The city did not stop. But in that small space at Horse Guards, something was building. Not anger, not fear, but a quiet message waiting to be heard. The horse stood tall, strong, and alert, carrying years of service and patience in its stance. It had not acted. It had not moved beyond what was allowed. Yet its body spoke clearly to those who knew how to look. It was asking for space. It was asking for respect. And the day was far from over. The crowd did not thin out as the morning moved toward midday. Instead, more people arrived, drawn by the sight of the guards, the horses, and the long history they represented. Tour buses stopped nearby. Groups formed quickly, filling the open space with voices in many languages. The stone ground reflected sound, making everything feel louder and closer. The horse remained in position, tall and steady. Its coat still shone, but small signs of strain were becoming harder to hide. The muscles along its neck stayed tight. Its ears moved often now, turning toward every new sound. The horse was listening to everything at once, trying to understand what mattered and what did not. The guard stood firm beside it. His training guided every breath, every small shift of balance. He had learned how to remain calm even when the world around him became noisy and unpredictable. He had also learned to read the horse. Years of working together had created a quiet connection between them. He could sense the horse's mood without looking directly at it. A few people in the crowd noticed the guard's serious expression and stepped back. Others did not. Phones were raised again. Someone crouched low to get a different angle. Another person stepped closer, trying to get a photo that would stand out online. The signs asking visitors to keep their distance were clear, but not everyone paid attention. The horse lifted one hoof and set it down again. The movement was slow and controlled, but it carried meaning. The ground felt harder now. Standing still for long periods demanded strength and patience. The horse shifted its weight carefully, trying to ease the tension in its legs. A child laughed nearby, the sound sharp and sudden. The horse's head moved slightly in response. The guard noticed and spoke again, his voice firm and calm, reminding people to stay back. Some nodded and moved away. Others looked surprised, as if they had forgotten where they were. The horse took another deep breath. Air moved loudly through its nostrils. It was not panicking, it was managing, but managing took effort. Time passed slowly. The sun moved behind the clouds again, softening the light. The temperature changed just enough to be felt. The horse's body adjusted, but the constant attention from the crowd made rest impossible. Even when standing still, the horse's senses stayed alert, working nonstop. A group of young visitors stood close together, whispering and laughing. One of them waved a hand near the horse's face, hoping for a reaction. The horse did not move much, but its ears pinned back for a brief second before returning forward. It was another quiet signal, another request for space. The guard felt it. He tightened his focus, ready to act if needed. His posture remained perfect, but his awareness sharpened. He trusted the horse, but he also knew that trust worked both ways. The horse trusted him to keep the situation safe. People around them began to notice the tension. Some visitors pulled others back, pointing out how close they were standing. A few spoke softly, reminding friends that the horse was real, not a statue. Still, the crowd remained large and the noise did not fully fade. The horse's tail moved again, this time more strongly. Its body shifted forward just a fraction, then settled back. The movement was controlled, but it carried weight. It was not meant to scare. It was meant to communicate. The guard remained calm. He did not break formation. He did what he had been trained to do, trusting that calm would spread if he held it firmly enough. A gust of wind moved through the open space, lifting coats and carrying new sounds. Somewhere nearby, metal scraped against stone. The horse's muscles tightened instantly, then relaxed again. Each sound demanded attention. Each movement added to the growing pressure. The horse had served in many busy places before. It had stood through parades, ceremonies, and long days of duty, but each day was different. Each crowd behaved in its own way. Today, the crowd felt restless, eager, and too close. The guard noticed a change in the horse's breathing. It was still steady, but deeper now. The connection between them grew stronger in that moment. Without words, the guard understood that the horse was reaching its limit. Another warning was given, clear, strong, and respectful. Some people stepped back immediately. Others hesitated, caught between curiosity and caution. Phones were still raised. The desire to capture the moment was strong. The horse lifted its head higher now, its eyes wide and alert. It was not afraid, it was focused. It was aware of its size, its strength, and the space it needed. It had waited patiently. It had given signs. It had trusted the humans around it to listen. The guard adjusted his grip slightly, a small movement meant only for the horse. The message was simple: stay with me. We are in this together. Around them, the mood began to shift. Some people felt it. The laughter softened. The noise lowered just a little. A few visitors stepped farther back, watching with new respect. But the pressure did not fully disappear. The horse stood tall, carrying years of training and service in its stance. Its hooves pressed firmly into the ground. Its body remained controlled, but the energy beneath the calm was growing. This was not a moment of anger. It was a moment of limits. The horse had been patient. It had been disciplined. It had done everything expected of it. Now it was asking more clearly than before for understanding. The guard stood ready, steady and composed, knowing that whatever happened next would need to be handled with care and control. The crowd watched closely, some with excitement, others with concern. Few truly understood what it meant to stand there for hours, carrying responsibility without complaint. The air felt heavier now, charged with expectation. Something was about to change. The moment did not arrive suddenly. It built itself slowly, like a quiet wave rising under the surface. The horse stood tall, every muscle alert, every sense focused. The crowd was still close, though some people had stepped back. The noise had softened, but it had not disappeared. Cameras were still raised. Eyes were fixed on the horse and the guard. The horse shifted its weight again, more firmly this time. One hoof moved forward, pressing into the stone ground. The sound was clear and sharp. A few people nearby fell silent. They felt it, even if they did not fully understand it. This was not a random movement. It was a signal. The guard felt it instantly. His grip tightened just enough to stay connected. His body remained calm and steady. He trusted the horse, but he was fully ready to respond. His training had prepared him for moments like this, moments when control and calm mattered more than anything else. A person near the front stepped closer again, trying to get one last clear photo. The space in front of the horse narrowed. The horse lifted its head higher, neck strong and straight. Its ears pinned back briefly, then moved forward again. Its breathing grew louder, deeper. Then it happened. The horse took a strong step forward. The movement was sudden but controlled. Its hoof struck the ground with force. The sound echoed across the stone space. Gasps filled the air. Several people jumped back at once. Phones dropped. Laughter disappeared completely. The horse did not charge. It did not lose control. It simply claimed its space. The guard reacted immediately. His voice cut through the silence, clear and powerful, commanding people to move back. His body moved with purpose, guiding the horse, keeping the situation safe. The connection between them was clear. They worked as one. People stumbled backward, eyes wide. Some raised their hands in shock. Others froze for a moment before realizing they needed to move. The crowd opened quickly now, leaving a wide, clear space in front of the horse. The horse stamped once more, firmly, then stopped. Its body remained strong and upright. Its message had been delivered. Silence followed. For a brief moment, everything seemed to pause. The busy sounds of London faded into the background. No one laughed. No one spoke. The only sounds were the horse's steady breathing and the guard's calm commands as he ensured the area was secure. The horse stood still again, but something had changed. The tension that had been building was released. The pressure was gone. The space around it was finally clear. The guard stayed alert, scanning the crowd without turning his head. He maintained control, guiding the moment back into order. His voice was firm but respectful. There was no anger in it, only authority and responsibility. People began to understand what they had just witnessed. This was not a show. It was not meant for entertainment. It was a clear response from a living being that had reached its limit. Some visitors looked embarrassed. Others looked thoughtful. A few nodded quietly as if realizing something important. Parents pulled children closer. Friends whispered to one another, no longer excited but reflective. The horse lowered its head slightly, then raised it again. Its breathing slowed. Its ears moved forward, listening, checking the space around it. It was calm now, but still alert. The guard adjusted his stance slightly, keeping the horse steady. His training guided every movement. He did not rush. He did not show emotion. His focus was on safety, for the horse and for everyone else. Security personnel moved closer, helping to manage the crowd. They guided people farther back, creating clear lines and safe distances. The mood of the area shifted completely. Respect replaced excitement. Caution replaced curiosity. The horse stood quietly as the space widened. The stone ground in front of it was finally empty. No phones waved inches from its face. No sudden movements broke its focus. The guard spoke again, reminding visitors to keep their distance. This time people listened without hesitation. No one questioned him. No one argued. The moment had spoken louder than words ever could. The horse flicked its tail once, then settled. Its muscles relaxed just a little. The heavy weight it had carried for hours began to ease. Standing still no longer felt like a battle. Around them, whispers spread. People discussed what had happened in low voices. Some explained it to others who had arrived late. Many nodded in agreement, understanding that the horse had not done anything wrong. A few people quietly left the area feeling shaken. Others stayed, watching from a safe distance, seeing the guard and horse with new respect. The guard remained composed, just as he had been from the start. Inside, he felt relief. The horse had communicated clearly and the situation had been handled safely. That was all that mattered. The horse stood strong and calm now, its message understood. It had not acted out of fear or anger. It had acted out of need. It had asked for space and finally it had been heard. London sounds slowly returned. Traffic noise drifted back in. Footsteps echoed again. Life continued, but the energy around horse guards was different now. Quieter, more respectful, people watched the horse with new eyes. They saw not just a symbol of tradition, but a living being with strength, patience, and limits. The guard resumed his stillness, his posture perfect once more. The horse stood beside him, steady and calm, its presence powerful but peaceful. The moment passed, but it left something behind. A lesson. Not everyone would remember it forever, but many would. They would remember the sound of the hoof on stone, the sudden silence, the realization that discipline does not mean endless endurance. The horse had spoken without words, and London had listened. The space around the horse remained wide and clear after the moment passed. People stood farther back now, forming a loose circle instead of pressing forward. The air felt calmer, almost lighter, as if everyone had taken a deep breath together. The horse stood still, strong and balanced, its hooves firmly planted on the stone. Its breathing was steady again, slower than before. The guard stayed alert, his posture unchanged. He had guided moments like this before, though each one was different. He did not look at the crowd, but he was fully aware of it. His focus remained on the horse, on keeping the situation calm and safe. He gave a quiet signal through his grip and stance, letting the horse know everything was under control. Security staff moved carefully through the area, guiding people back with calm gestures and clear words. There was no rush, no shouting. The calm response helped everyone settle. Visitors listened closely now, moving without complaint. The mood had shifted from excitement to understanding. The horse flicked its ears forward, then to the side, checking the space. It lifted one hoof briefly and set it down again, testing the ground. The tension that had filled its body earlier was slowly leaving. Standing still felt easier now that the pressure was gone. People in the crowd began to speak in quiet voices. Some explained what had happened to others who had not seen it clearly. A few pointed out the signs the horse had shown earlier, the movements and signals that had gone unnoticed. Others nodded, realizing how close they had been standing before. Phones were still out, but they were held lower now. The focus was different. Instead of trying to provoke a reaction, people watched with respect. Some recorded the calm scene, talking softly about the discipline of the guard and the strength of the horse. Parents spoke to their children, explaining that animals have limits just like people do. Children listened closely, their eyes fixed on the horse, no longer laughing or shouting. The lesson was simple but powerful. The guard gave another clear reminder about keeping distance. This time everyone followed it immediately. The authority in his voice was calm, not sharp. It carried confidence and experience. The crowd trusted him. The horse lowered its head slightly, then raised it again. Its eyes were calm, aware but no longer strained. It shifted its weight once more, settling into a comfortable stance. The guard noticed and felt a quiet sense of relief. The bond between them held strong. Minutes passed and the area remained peaceful. The horse did not move again. It stood tall, doing its duty with quiet strength. The guard remained still, his presence steady and reassuring. Outside the space, life continued as usual. Traffic sounds drifted in from nearby streets. Footsteps echoed on stone paths. The city moved on, but something had changed within that circle of people. Word of the moment spread quickly. Some visitors checked their phones and saw messages or short clips shared online. Others talked about it among themselves, discussing how quickly the situation had changed. Many expressed surprise, not at the horse's action, but at how clearly it had communicated without harm. Some people felt regret. They realized they had stood too close earlier, not meaning any disrespect, but not thinking deeply either. Now they understood better. They stayed back, watching quietly. The horse remained calm throughout it all. Its strength was clear, but so was its patience. It had not acted without reason. It had waited, signaled, and trusted. Only when the pressure became too much had it responded. The guard's calm handling earned quiet respect from those watching. He had not overreacted. He had not lost control. He had done exactly what was needed, nothing more and nothing less. Security staff slowly stepped back as the situation fully settled. The area returned to its normal rhythm, but with clearer boundaries. Signs were noticed more carefully now. Instructions were followed more closely. Some visitors chose to leave, feeling they had seen enough. Others stayed, simply observing from a respectful distance. The horse and guard became symbols not just of tradition, but of discipline balanced with care. The horse's breathing remained even. Its ears rested forward. Its tail was still. It stood like a quiet statue again, but those who had seen the earlier moment knew better now. They understood that stillness did not mean emptiness. It meant control. The guard continued his duty without change. He did not seek attention or praise. His role was to serve, to protect, and to maintain order. He had done that well. As time passed, new visitors arrived, unaware of what had happened earlier. Those who had witnessed it shared the story softly, explaining why distance mattered. The lesson continued, passed quietly from one person to another. The horse stood through it all, calm and steady. The weight of the moment had lifted, leaving behind a quieter strength. The ground beneath its hooves felt firm and safe again. The air around horse guards carried a different feeling now. It was still busy, still full of people, but it was calmer. Respect had replaced curiosity. Awareness had replaced carelessness. The guard and horse remained in place, doing their duty as they always had. But for many in the crowd, the day had become something more than a sightseeing stop. It had become a reminder that tradition is built on care, not just rules. A reminder that strength comes with limits. A reminder that respect is not optional. The moment had passed, but its impact remained, settling quietly into the memory of everyone who had seen it. The afternoon slowly moved toward evening, and the light around horse guards began to soften. The busy energy of earlier hours faded into something calmer and slower. People still came and went, but they walked with more care now. The space around the guard and the horse remained clear, just as it should be. The horse stood quietly, strong and balanced. Its body was relaxed in a way it had not been earlier in the day. The tension was gone. The steady rhythm of its breathing matched the calm of the moment. Its ears moved gently, listening to the sounds of the city without reacting to every one of them. The guard remained in position, steady and focused. His posture was unchanged, but inside he felt a quiet sense of completion. The difficult moment had passed safely. The horse beside him was calm again, and the crowd had learned to respect the boundaries that existed for a reason. Visitors now stood at a proper distance, watching quietly. Some simply observed in silence. Others spoke in low voices, sharing thoughts about what they had seen earlier. Many expressed admiration, not just for the guard, but for the horse itself. They spoke about its patience, its strength, and the clear way it had communicated without causing harm. Parents continued to explain the moment to their children. They pointed out how the horse had given signs before reacting, how it had stayed calm for as long as it could. Children listened closely, their expressions thoughtful. The lesson stayed with them, simple but meaningful. As the hours passed, new visitors arrived, unaware of what had happened earlier. Those who had witnessed it shared the story quietly, encouraging others to keep their distance. In this way, respect spread naturally without force or fear. The horse shifted its weight once more, then settled comfortably. Standing now felt different. It was no longer surrounded by pressure. The space it needed was there. The ground beneath its hooves felt steady and safe. The guard sensed the change clearly. He trusted the horse, and the horse trusted him. That trust had been tested and proven again. Their bond remained strong, built on training, care, and understanding. As the day continued, the guard's shift slowly moved toward its end. Another guard would take over later, continuing the same duty. The routine would carry on, just as it always had. But for those who had been there, this day would stand out. The horse had not become famous. It had not sought attention. Yet its moment of clarity had reached far beyond the space where it stood. Videos shared online showed only a brief moment, but the true meaning was deeper than any clip could show. People who watched those videos discussed what they saw. Many spoke about respect for working animals. Others talked about how easily people forget that discipline does not remove feeling. The conversation spread, thoughtful and calm. The horse remained unaware of all this. It stood as it always had, focused on the present moment. Its role was simple: to stand, to serve, and to trust, and it had done all of that with quiet strength. The guard continued to face forward, still and composed. His duty was not about recognition. It was about responsibility. He had guided the situation safely, protecting the horse and the public. That was enough. As evening approached, the sky began to change color. Soft light reflected off the buildings, and shadows grew longer on the stone ground. The sounds of the city shifted again, becoming slower and softer. The crowd thinned naturally. Some visitors left for dinner plans or evening walks. Others stayed a little longer, taking one last look before moving on. Many left with a deeper understanding than they had arrived with. The horse stood calmly through it all, its presence steady and peaceful. The strength it carried was no longer hidden by tension. It stood not just as a symbol of tradition, but as a reminder of balance. Eventually, the shift came to an end. The guard was relieved by another, and the horse was gently guided away from its position. The movement was calm and controlled. The horse walked with ease, no longer surrounded by noise and pressure. As it moved away, a few people watched quietly, offering space without being asked. The lesson remained fresh in their minds. The area returned to its usual state, ready for another day, another crowd, another routine. The stone ground held no sign of what had happened, but the memory lived on in the people who had seen it. London continued as it always does. Busy, alive, full of moments both large and small. Most days passed without pause, but some days carried meaning that stayed longer. This had been one of those days. The horse had spoken without words. The guard had listened without hesitation. The crowd had learned without force. Nothing dramatic followed. No grand announcement. No lasting disruption. Just a quiet shift in understanding. And sometimes that is enough, because respect does not need to be loud. Understanding does not need to be dramatic, and lessons do not need to be repeated to be remembered. The day ended peacefully, leaving behind a simple truth for anyone willing to see it. Strength deserves space, discipline has limits, and respect makes all the difference.